fight this summer. Former governor and former Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee with his reaction and why he says this matters. There are now public reports that members of the GOP elite are actually resigned to the fact that they believe that there's a sense of inevitability about Donald Trump being their nominee and that they're just going to make peace with that. Are you hearing the same thing at this point from your perspective?
I am, and I think a lot of people recognize that, you stand back and you say, the people have a right to make this decision. And Donald Trump has already received more votes at this stage of the process than neither Mitt Romney or John McCain did when they had secured the nomination and went to the convention. And that's significant. I hear some people say, well, but Donald Trump might turn off some voters. Well, it's pretty apparent that they're not paying attention. Donald Trump has turned on a bunch of voters. And that's why a whole bunch of people who are independents and Democrats have come to vote for Donald Trump. Now, what people ought to be looking at is saying, that's important, because you cannot beat Hillary Clinton if all you have is the narrowest slice of the Republican Party. You've got to get independents. You have to bring some working class Democrats and others who are dissatisfied with their party. Donald Trump is doing that. That's how you win the general election.
I mean, a lot of these elites really don't even want to see, not just the elites, but people don't want to see a really messy, contested convention. But at this point, do you think we're still, there's a good chance that this convention could go on being a contested one, particularly if he doesn't get the exact number of delegates needed for a first ballot nomination?
Uma, it looks like that Donald Trump will be several hundred delegates ahead of Ted Cruz, even if he doesn't get the magic 1237. And I think there's a good possibility that he will get that. If he gets 43% of the remaining delegates, he has the 1237. He's doing much better than 43% of the election so far. So he's in a position to pull that off. But let's say he's just under, but he's hundreds of delegates ahead. I think extraordinary pressure on Ted Cruz to take one for the team, step aside, don't let this go and be a complete mess. And frankly, I think that the Republicans can avoid that kind of fratricide and unite, go forward, beat Hillary Clinton, and try to reverse the damage of the past 8 years, and there's been plenty of that.
I mean, it's been a tough week for Cruz all the way around, with former Speaker of the House John Boehner even going on the record calling him Lucifer in the flesh. Now, does this do anyone any good when you have a high-profile member of the GOP going after another member of the GOP who's right now in the spotlight in a big way? I mean, I don't recall John Boehner going after, Harry Reid, calling him Lucifer in the flesh, or any other Democrats, but to take on Cruz in this way really, I think, has really upset a lot of people within the GOP to have Boehner go very public in a very negative way against a candidate, even if he doesn't support him, to do it in this way.
Well, it shows how, let's say, free-spirited that a person gets once they leave office and they no longer give a hoot, and I'll use the word hoot, about political consequences. No, it isn't positive. It's not good for the party. It's certainly not good for Ted Cruz. But I think John Boehner was in what didn't appear to be an unguarded moment. It seemed quite deliberate, quite intentional. I think he was expressing what he really felt. And I think the trouble for Ted Cruz has spent what little time he's had in the Senate, and he hasn't been there long, not making friends, but making a lot of enemies. And let's be fair, it's not always because he was challenging the system. It's because people felt he was using the system to elevate himself, not to elevate a particular issue.